All right, hopefully everyone can hear me and the audio's okay. It looks like the gain may be a little high. Maybe it's dependent on how I speak. What you're looking at right now is a Z590 Dark. This is the previous generation dark board. Came with a full copper heatsink for the VRMs, 21-phase VRMs, just like the Z690 Dark, which you'll be seeing shortly, just as well as I will. I have yet to see this board. It's quite heavy, actually. Considering this is, I do believe they used an aluminum heatsink, because the copper heatsink was just total overkill. This VRM setup on the Z590 Dark, I mean, there were 90 amp power phases, and there were 21 of them. It was just complete overkill, especially with the fans and everything else. Not necessary, so I understand why they cut back on using copper as opposed to aluminum. And yeah, I just want to open this damn box, guys. Who's with me? Let's see this board. I got so many chats open right now, it's not even funny. All right, let's get the Z590 Dark and 11,900K out of here. Yeah, I'm not throwing this one. And let's introduce the new player in the game. The EVGA 690 Dark Kingpin. Congratulations to Vince, a good friend of mine. At least I like to think so. You don't just own GPUs, bro. You own motherboards now. That's awesome. So let's open this thing up. I'm very particular about how I open up my boxes. Let me find my knife. Oh no, I lost my knife. Found some scissors. Found my knife. Never mind. Alright, box cutter or knife? Let's use the... No, that does not look like a box cutter. That's like a serrated edge. Alright, we're going to open this thing up for the first time. I have not seen one of these in person. I do know a lot about the technical data behind it. So we're going to be, first off, looking at the packages, or the packaging, and what comes with the Z690 Dark Kingpin. Always has an understated box, unlike, you know, some other companies which like to really promote their products with flashy graphics and all this other stuff. It's just a plain black box. Even the main box is just well stated. I love it. Thus the Dark. All right. Okay, so this seems to come apart. Look at that. Damn, they spent money on this box. All right, what comes first? What is this? Installation quick guide. If you need it, you should not own this board, but I mean, there are people that do buy these boards because they're just like, oh, it's the top line. And they are not my friends. All right, so we have an accessory kit. We'll see what's inside here. Let me check the chat. I'm gonna have to mute this, aren't I? Yo, Joshua. Yeah, Joshua also has a Z. Well, he's had his for like, what, 3 weeks now? All right, let's see what comes in the accessory kit. How do you open this? Same way? Oh. Ah, the standoffs, the badge. these standoffs are for what EVGA supplies. It's a makeshift test bench. And it actually has a PCB layout entirely written on it. I'm sure I'm going to get to it soon. But that's what these standoffs are for, and it comes with the standard EVGA sticker. As always, these I believe are M2 screws. No, these are just motherboard screws. Okay. These are your M2 screws. Proba cables. Very, very, very useful. And I think EVGA does the, as far as voltage monitoring and everything else, EVGA, they're by far the best. I'm sorry. With Asus, you gotta solder shit on, or it's just a pain in the butt. Oh. Thermal pads for NVMe drives. I'm honestly gonna toss this Wi-Fi adapter. Not gonna use that. SATA cables, more SATA cables. And little thumb drive with all the drivers that you need. Thank you, EVGA, for doing this for years now, because I absolutely love it. No one owns an optical drive anymore, especially in the XOC community. All right, let's see what's going on here. What's up, Scoopsro? I can never read that, dude. All right, here is the board. But before I show the board, I want to... Oh, wow. Josh, you weren't kidding. This is heavy. For something that has little to no copper. I'm assuming it's the back plate for the motherboard that makes this thing so heavy. But Jesus Christ, man. This feels heavier than my Z690 Dark, which has all copper heatsinks. This is a solid board. And we're going to get to that in 1 second once I find where they hid my... Where's my... Maybe it's in here. I'm assuming it's in here. Oh, no, it was underneath. All right. So let me move this to the side. So this is what you get with basically every Dark board since the... Yeah, since the X299 Dark. It's a makeshift test bench, which also has a PCB layout that gives you an idea of what goes where, and it gives you an idea of also all the functions that the board has to offer. So you put the standoffs in all of the standoff holes, and you could mount it like a standard bench. I use a Lee & Lee bench personally, but this is really, really useful for just on the fly, just getting to learn the board quickly. And EVGA is the best at that. I know Vince has thought this through very, very thoroughly. And I think it's a genius idea. And this is actual PCB. Like, this is printed circuit board as a test bench. And Vince actually sells this through Kingpin Cooling. He sells the Atlas test bench, which is also made out of PCB. And he sent me one, and I recall a particular XOCer. Not going to name his name because I'm not a big fan of his. He's not a fan of mine either. But he told me that the board would buckle under the strains of a PCB being a test bench, which was absolutely false. Oh, nice, dude. You got lucky. I had to go through Vince to get mine. Oh, no wonder this isn't working. I don't have a mouse pad. Glass and optical mice don't work together. Oh, dude, I already feel the quality. All right, let's get to the motherboard itself, because this is... Well, first, let me pull out the Z590 so we can make a fair comparison. This is gen to gen. Okay, this is way lighter, and it uses a lot of copper. So here's the Z590. Copper heat sinks, also dual fans, routing the air through the heat sinks, covering the MOSFETs, all that good stuff. Very, very similar layout. Though I don't think the Z590 Dark has a slow boot or a slow mode. It has safe boot. Is it the same thing? Could someone let me know? Everyone calls it something different. But yes, this is the Z590 Dark, solid copper heat sinks. This thing MSRP'd for, I believe, $600 US. So let's get to the, oh, this thing is heavy. Z690 Dark Kingpin. It's not just a Z690 Dark. You have to throw Kingpin in there because Vince put a lot of work into this board. Wow. Here she is, guys. Okay, I already see a few differences. Quite a few differences. Oh, you guys get to watch me unmask this thing. I don't even know where to start. Oh, there's the pull tab. Wow. Vince, when he said dark, I thought he was joking. He said it was the darkest board that he made. He was not kidding. This thing is murdered out. I love it. But wow, this thing is heavy. Is that like anodized copper? Or is it just the back plate that's making it so heavy? It could be the back. Yeah, that's a beefy back plate. Guys, look at that. The entire motherboard is covered with a back plate. That is awesome. You got to pay to play, guys. And if you guys want the best of the best, this is what you get. Oh, I just knocked off that. What is that? Oh, that's the HD audio cover. Go back in, you. I'm not going to swear on the stream, even though I already did a few times. It doesn't matter. Yeah, this plastic does not want to come off properly. Oh, because I'm not pulling the tabs. Because I'm a pull lock. That's not even a tab. Alright guys, let's start getting into the nitty and gritty of this board. Because I had to do some research, I had to ask some questions. I haven't gotten a word back from Vince, but I have spoken with BSO, I've spoken with Lumi, and I got a pretty good idea of what makes this board so much different than the Z590 Dark, which was not a bad board. That was a fantastic board, despite the fact that I killed an 11,900K on it. My fault. First CPU I ever killed. Somehow my 5-year-old 7988 XE is still running on the original X299 Dark. There's even dents and divots in the die itself. Alright, now she's nice and clean. Wow, that is a pretty looking board. Kingpin branding. I'm almost scared to take off the sticker. It doesn't come off so easily, does it? Bad time to cut my nails. Personally, I don't care if I scratch the plastic, because it's all coming off. Yeah, that did not come off nicely. Doesn't bother me one bit. There you guys have it. That is one hell of a dartboard. It lives up to its name, as it should. Okay, so from what I gathered, they've switched things up quite a bit for this generation of board. Let me pull up my phone here because I don't know the exact model number of the power phases, the MOSFETs. But I did need to do some digging to figure out exactly what's so different, because you have to remember, these are both the Z690 dark here. This heavy fucker. Not as heavy as I thought anymore. But this, as well as the new Z690 dark Kingpin, have the same amount of VRMs. They're both 21 VRM power phases. But when I started looking into the model numbers, let me pull this up, because I was speaking with Biso earlier, because his is torn apart, obviously. He's been playing with it, same with Lumi. They gave me both the model numbers of the MOSFETs themselves, as well as the doublers, so I was able to do a little bit of research. Now, the power stages on the Z590 Dark were 90 amps apiece. On the Z690 Dark Kingpin, they're 105 amps. So this thing could literally draw as much power as you throw at it. There's no CPU in the, what's the code name for the current generation of CPUs? I don't even care. There's no 12900K that's going to push this thing beyond its limits. Just plain and simple, it just won't. It can't. And the cooling, I see why they went with aluminum. I believe it's aluminum. I'm still trying to hear back from Vince about that. It feels like aluminum. But yeah, the 21 phase VRM, 105 amp power stages. This thing is just built beyond bulletproof at this point. Of course, we see the similar LED lighting here, which gives you kind of a vague postcode, but it'll let you know when something's really wrong. Believe me, I know. I ran into that before. And of course, you have the 4-digit Q code readout. Let me make sure that you guys could actually see it. Which displays various voltages, various everything, temperatures down to, I'm not sure if they kept it the same, because I know my X299 Dark, which I absolutely still love, all three of them, they were able to read accurately at a hardware level down to minus 64 degrees Celsius. So you were able to get an idea of the delta between your pot and your CPU to know if you have a decent mount once you start going below subambient. So, I mean, to me, that was a really cool feature, and I'm sure this offers it just the same, but you have all the LED postcodes, 4 digits for voltages, temperatures, you name it. You could also double up on them, or just select a slew of options and have them show various voltages, which is an awesome concept. This looks kind of bent. Okay, so this is just your standard USB plug-in for a BIOS update, which is kind of cool, so because you could do it without a CPU. But chances are you probably already own a CPU if you're going to be running this thing. Now, this thing does have a safe boot mode. Now, let's see what it's labeled here. Same, safe boot. I don't see the red button. Where's my big red button? Joshua, help me here. Where's my big red button? The CMOS reset button. Did they get rid of that? I think they did. They did. Nonetheless, damn, that sucks because I really love the safe boot the red button. I don't know what they call it officially, but it essentially just it's a clear CMOS button. It no longer exists on this board. It does exist on the Z590 Dark. No longer exists here, but you have the safe boot option. Of course, you have the probit headers, which are very, very necessary when you're starting to delve into some of the more higher frequencies under LN2. Let's see what we got going on here. But yeah, I'm kind of disappointed they got rid of that. Okay. Well, nope. They added a slow mode switch. Oh, they added that on the Z590 Dark too. My bad. Okay, so this board, like most dark boards, ever since the X299 Dark, has 3 BIOSes. BIOSes? So, yeah, you could set up various profiles, set up various BIOSes, and have at it, as well as having full function over your PCI Express lanes, which in this particular board is very unique. I absolutely love the way that they set up the PCI Express lanes. Of course, you have your 2 full 16-lane PCI Express 5.0 slots, which if you were to double them up, they're going to run an X8, X8. Plain and simple. That's just the amount of lanes that the CPU could provide. But you're talking about 5.0, so that would be essentially PCI Express 4.0 at X16, X16. And we are not at that point where we're saturating PCI Express 16 lanes at the 4.0 standard on a single GPU, let alone dual GPUs. So that to me is awesome. Plus we get an extra 4 lanes from the CPU for PCI Express 4.0, which could be used natively for NVMe storage. And behind this backplate, and I was thinking about taking this thing apart and disassembling it during this video, but quite frankly, I'm exhausted. I worked all day. I'm not going to do that. But there are 3 M2 slots, which are all NVMe 4.0 compatible. Now, one of them does take the 4 PCI Express 4.0 lanes allotted from the CPU, while the other 2 will take them from the PCH that's covered by this nice Kingpin logo. Vince, you're awesome. That is a badass logo. Yeah, guys, and that's that. So you could run SLI as well as 3 NVMe drives at full PCI 4.0, as well as using PCI 5.0 for your GPUs. If you really wanted to do that, I'm not really sure how many people will do that outside of benchmarkers. All right, so next thing, I/O. It's got a very impressive I/O. Well, actually, you know what? Let me skip the I/O. Let me go to the backplate. I mean, I can't really see in real time right here. Oh, behind the safe mode and CMOS clear is on the back. Let me take a look at that. Oh, no shit. Okay, that's cool. Thanks, Josh. Uptown New York City, I totally agree with you, but I love both boards. Sorry. All right, let's see. Yeah, but we're going to get to the I/O in a second, the rear I/O, and then the internal I/O. But wow, did they do a nice job on this. I think this is what adds a lot of weight to this board, if I'm being completely honest. It's got a nice brushed aluminum look to it. And it feels like it is aluminum. So I'm trying to... Vince, if you're watching this, or if you're... I'm just going to ask you personally, because the weight of this board makes no sense to me. It's heavier than the Z590 Dark. Are these heatsinks copper that have been just murdered out? I'm really confused. This is a heavy, heavy board. All right, moving on. We'll go ahead and look at the rear I/O. Of course, we got Wi-Fi 6E, modern day standard. Thankfully, they included it because a lot of people give people crap for buying these boards for gaming builds or mainstream builds. I totally disagree with that because it's a fantastic board. Overall, it has plenty of I/O, it has pretty much all the features you'd want in a mainstream board. It just so happens to be a very tuned board, or attuned to XOC. But that does not take away from, I get it, it's limited, production, it's this and that, but if you want the best Z690 board, this is likely it. But I mean, as far as the I/O goes, you have two 2.5 gigabyte or gigabit per second LAN ports, plenty of USB 3.0 ports. I believe those are 3.2, so there's 4 of them, or 3.1, and then you have a 3.2C, and then you have your standard 3.0 up here. You still have the legendary PS2 port up here, which is a necessity for some 2D benchmarks, as you don't want to deal with USB drivers. And of course, I was looking for a word, I totally lost it. But every board, every dark board has always had this supplemental 6-pin PCI Express power delivery. It just supplements the power delivery to the PCI Express rails themselves. So the 75 watts that you'll get out of here, this will ensure that it's stable at all times, which is totally awesome. I know there's a lot of stuff hidden behind this plastic, and I'd like to go over it, but I have a hard time putting it back together. All right, now the internal I/O. Of course, you have USB 3.2 Type-C. So if you're putting it in a case, you got that right there. And we have, what's that, 2, 4, 6, 8? 8 SATA 6 ports. I'm assuming, like most boards, 6 of them are going to be native to the PCH, to the chipset, and 2 of them are going to be, let's see if it's marked. I can't really tell. Yeah, 2 of them are they're likely run by a different controller, which is totally fine. I mean, they have the same throughput, but 6 of them will more than likely be native to the PCH and the chipset. And one of the most unique features to me has always been about the X299, which was the first dark board to come out, was the 90-degree 24-pin attachment. But with the Z series boards, which we've now seen for several generations, we now have 90-degree 8-pin EPS 12 volts, as well as a 90-degree, is this USB 3.0? Yep. 90-degree USB 3.0. I mean, if you're building, like I said, I mean, you could use this board for more than just XOC. I mean, that would make for very, very easy cable management and routing, which is a big plus. And I'm also well aware that there's some ARGB. All right, I got to do it. I just took this off. Yep. Okay, so the board does have ARGB 5 volt as well as 12 volt RGB headers, 2 of each. So if you wanted to take a dark and make it all RGB-ish, you can. You can. Let's see if I can put this one back on. Oh, that one went on pretty easy. Now, of course, the most unique thing which we see on XOC boards is 2 DIMM slots. And guys, there's a reason for that. It's not because these boards are designed to limit you from high memory capacity for productive workloads. They're just not. They're designed for one thing and one thing only, in a sense, because it can be used for productive workloads if you really wanted to. Sorry, I need to take a sip of my water. But the essential concept behind this is to have less signal noise between each channel of memory. This is still a dual channel board. It's just lacking 2 extra DIMMs, because the more DIMM slots you put in, you get signal noise. And that could interfere with latencies, that could interfere with throughput, and overall memory stability. Now in this case, just having these 2 DIMMs and the rotated socket, which has been around since, I want to say Z390. Vince, sorry if I'm wrong. It might have been 490. I want to say Z390, which is a very unique aspect of this board as well. The socket is rotated 90 degrees. This is why the DIMM slots are on top, not on the side. And this is why they allow the EPS 12 volt and the 24-pin 12 volt to be right next to each other as opposed to step to the side, is to allow for low signal noise going directly from the IMC of the CPU to the memory, which is very important, which reminds me, I'm going to pop these in there. I've been sitting on these for months. Trident Z DDR5 6000 CL36. Just want to see how it looks. But I know there's some other things I wanted to discuss about this board. Outside of everything that we already know about dark boards, I mean, they're just awesome. Come on, G-Skill. Your packaging is getting worse. At least I want, okay, I'll admit, it's RGB memory, but at least it's black, it's dark. So I just want to see how it looks. Oh, both sides open up, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I got the right one. Okay, now that is looking like a very pretty board now. Now it just needs an LN2 pot and a CPU in it. Which I have, guys. I've been running an Asus Strix Gaming D4 Wi-Fi because I couldn't get a DDR5 board, and the only DDR5 board I wanted was a dark, and I finally got it. So it's time to play with some DDR5. Guys, this is the board in a nutshell. If you can see it from here, it probably looks much better. The back plate is absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure where a lot of this weight is coming from. I'm assuming the back plate. But if it's made out of aluminum, which it feels to be just from touching it, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Keep in mind, this has a 10-layer PCB like most dark boards. And that is no joke. Like, these boards do not bend. So the guy, which I will not name, who said that if I were to mount my dark board on Vince's Atlas, his Atlas bench, it would bend with the pot on it. Like, it would literally bend. And I'm just like, no, it won't. It's a 10-layer PCB. This is literally one of the most solid boards I've ever held in my hand. So, guys, I look forward to making some future content. First things first, I'm going to get this thing underwater. Right now, let's see if I can show you this. I got to tear this thing apart. Okay, I'm not in live mode. Okay, this X299 dark test bench apart, which is using a 280 and a 240 rad. The 280 is 60 millimeters thick, the 240 is 45 millimeters thick, is running on a EK D5 pump as well as a heat killer block. And that's going to be mounted to here, so over the next week I'm going to be doing quite a bit of testing on the new dartboard underwater. And come next week, LN2 is coming in. So I can't wait to put my finely binned, which I may say because I've tested it on the Asus board, which is not meant for XOC. My finely binned 12900K, and seeing what she's finally capable of using DDR5 and a proper XOC board for this generation. So guys, it's been a pleasure. If you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of these boards, more power to you. And yeah, I don't believe in that you can't use this as a gaming board or as a board to use in a custom build. I just don't agree with that at all. So more power to you if you guys do get one. The XOC community should be glad that we have these types of boards, period. Because 20 years ago, they didn't exist. We just used the top tier boards. Now we have specific XOC boards. So, having said that, guys, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to go take a shower, have some dinner, go to sleep. And starting tomorrow, this thing's going to be underwater. It's going to be on the test bench. And it's time to start tuning that DDR5. All right, guys. Peace.